Hello everyone, and welcome back to Women in Film Reviews. My name is Helen, and today, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we are going to be talking about something that I am truly thankful for. I am, of course, talking about Beyonce's 2019 documentary concert feature, Homecoming, a film by Beyonce. Is there anyone out there who isn't thankful for Beyonce? Genuinely curious about that. Yes, today I would like to take a deep dive into Homecoming, a film by Beyonce. We are going to be talking about how it differs from the concert films that came before it, how it brings Black culture to the fore in a festival that is historically dominated by whiteness, and the importance of an artist like Beyonce taking full creative control of her story. First, a bit of background. In 2016, Beyonce released her game-changing album Lemonade, through which she documented her emotions following her husband, Jay-Z, having an affair. She had also publicly and firmly aligned herself with the Black Lives Matter movement through songs on the album such as Freedom and Formation. She made headlines that year performing Formation at that year's Super Bowl halftime show, dressed in a military-inspired costume and including tributes to Malcolm X, and dancers dressed in Black Panther attire. In short, Beyonce had signaled to the world that she was no longer interested in catering to a white audience. Lemonade was hailed as a magnum opus for Beyonce. It topped several critics' year-end best of lists, and it was nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards, although it controversially lost to Adele's 25. Adele even stated in her speech that she didn't think that she deserved the award and that Beyonce should have won. Beyonce at this point had become a cultural icon and one of the most definitive artists of the 2010s. If you'd like a bit more of a deep dive into how she got to that point, I highly recommend Polyphonic's video on how Beyonce shaped the 2010s as an artist. It was very informative for me, and I will of course link it down in the description below. In any case, it was announced in early 2017 that she would headline the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival, commonly known as Coachella, that spring, becoming only the second woman and the first Black woman to do so. But following the announcement that she was pregnant with twins, she subsequently postponed her headlining slot to 2018 at the recommendation of her doctor, and she was replaced that year by another performer that I admire a lot, Lady Gaga. And so her fans, including myself, waited another year while she prepared her show. And boy, was it worth the wait. On April 14th, 2018, the world was welcomed to Beyonce's headlining Coachella show, officially titled Beyonce's Homecoming 2018, and often referred to nowadays, and even before the event happened, as BEYCHELLA. It was one of these cultural defining moments that you remember where you were when it happened, and I was not awake to witness this live as it was 2 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm sorry, Beyonce. The 2-hour performance was immediately hailed as a triumph, as a showcase of the culture of historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, and the crown jewel in a decade's worth of defining and excellent televised performances by Beyonce. And this film, Homecoming, released 1 year later on April 17th, 2019, is written, directed, and executive produced by Beyonce Knowles-Carter herself, and it documents the concert in its entirety, along with a peek behind the scenes at how it all came together. Although I did miss the initial live performance when it happened, I had seen clips, and I did not view any bootlegs. I am so glad that I waited until this film came out to see it in full. It is a cleansing experience, truly, to see an artist just own everything about that performance. So, let's take a deep dive, shall we? The concert film as a genre has existed for decades and generally falls into one of two categories. Of course, with the exception of some parodies, such as This Is Spinal Tap or Stop Making Sense. First, there is the very straightforward recording of a single live performance. This is the taping of a full concert experience of a particular contest by an artist, sometimes taped over the course of 2 or 3 shows for coverage, and is generally just that, a concert. There is not much behind the scenes footage to be found, instead focusing on being in the moment of that live performance. These types of films almost never play theatrically, or at most get a very limited theatrical run over the course of, say, a weekend, instead opting for home video or streaming as its primary market. As an example of things that I personally own, I would say that One Direction's Up All Night live tour and Where We Are live tour DVDs fall into this category. Then there are concert films as marketing tools. You could say that a taping of any live performance is going towards the marketing of an artist to an extent, including those in category 1, but I would say that those are much more authentically live and they're not as pushy about wanting you to like this artist. The marketing is much more blatantly obvious in this second group of films. There are live performances in these types of films, obviously. They couldn't be called concert features if they weren't. But, 1, they don't necessarily cover the entire set list of a particular show or tour. And 2, the songs on the set list that are included in the film may not be shown in the same order that they are in the concert. This type of film is much more concerned with behind-the-scenes footage, antics, and secrets about the particular artist who's being highlighted here. Much more about the personality than the music. These types of films also tend to focus on very, very successful musicians, and therefore they do have major studio backing, and they often gain wide releases in cinemas. There was a particular boom of these films in the early 2010s that are centering around huge artists at the time, such as Justin Bieber, who had 2 of them, One Direction, This Is Us, which yes, I do own, and Katy Perry, Part of Me, to name a few. While these films do try their best to humanize the artists at the center of them, they have drawn heavy criticism for essentially more or less being expensive puff pieces that exist just to make a few bucks. And you wouldn't be wrong in that respect. So there you have it. These 2 categories that concert films have more or less fallen into for the existence of the entire genre. Enter Beyonce's homecoming. Beyonce, for being as private of a person as she is intently aware of what her fans want. And what they wanted almost immediately after Beychella happened was to be able to watch that performance over and over again in all of its glory. And so the entirety of her Coachella performance is documented here in full HD glory with Beyonce's own camera crew. The live stream that was provided on the night was from the Coachella Festival themselves. But going back to the fact that most concert films are taped over the course of 2 or 3 performances for coverage, Beyonce actually chose to embrace the fact that she would be performing the same groundbreaking show twice over the course of 2 weekends at Coachella. Her costuming for herself and the rest of the performers on stage with her from week 1 to week 2 of Coachella are drastically different, from a yellow and camouflage theme in week 1 to a pink and shiny silvery theme in week 2. She is not trying to distract the audience from the fact that they are watching 2 separate performances. She is totally embracing this fact and calling attention to it. And despite these 2 wildly different themes, the preciseness of the camera movements and the movements of the performers make each cut feel so natural, and it never feels like you're watching 2 performances spliced together. It just feels like one seamless, beautiful performance. Each cut is so seamless and organic that it just feels like you're watching one continuous performance where the outfits just magically happen to change color throughout. And just to drive home the preciseness, right from the beginning of the film, in the opening number, Crazy in Love, there is a cut on the downbeat, precisely on the downbeat, where the outfits change seamlessly from yellow to pink. And not a movement of the camera or of the performers is out of place. This rigidity still allows for some fun, spontaneous moments, such as when Beyonce excitedly points out a fan in the crowd in week 2 who has meticulously created one of her outfits from week 1. The concert performance itself is broken up throughout the film with behind-the-scenes footage of rehearsals and the process of putting the whole show together. Along with the nitty-gritty aspects of putting on such an expansive show, it also highlights how committed and invested Beyonce is in every aspect of this performance. Renting out 3 sound stages for 8 months and making sure that her vision is reflected in the work of the hundreds of people who came together to make this show happen. These cutaways from the concert are timed perfectly. If you've been to, say, a stadium show or really any show by a major artist, you'll know that it is often a very high energy and emotionally draining experience. And this performance is no different. These cutaways to the creative process throughout the film gives the audience a little bit of time to breathe between sections of the show. You are never bored during this film, that's for sure. Has anyone ever been bored during anything that Beyonce has done? The behind-the-scenes footage of this film also highlights one of the most important and defining aspects of this film. The importance of Beyonce's decision to bring such a large part of Black culture to the fore during her performance. Before 2018, when you heard the word Coachella, the first thing that you probably thought of was a bunch of rich, white, thin, conventionally attractive women running around the grassy areas of Indio, California in the latest flower power themed fashions. Maybe you even specifically thought of the Kardashians or Vanessa Hudgens. In short, it sort of felt, and still does to an extent, like an elite exclusionary club. Beyonce says outright in the documentary that she was not there to wear a flower crown and blend in. She felt that it was more important to bring a large aspect of Black culture that is important to her, specifically HBCUs, to an event that she knew would have millions of eyes on it. You can tell that she grew up around HBCU culture and absolutely adores it. We see clips of marching bands from several HBCUs in one brief segment, and you can tell that she somewhat regrets not being able to have that kind of experience for herself. As she says, Destiny's Child was her college, and life was her teacher. So she decided to create that for herself, and she decided to bring that aspect of Black culture to the forefront through Coachella. This is present in everything that is on stage, from the arrangement of the stage itself as a set of bleachers in a pyramid shape, to the steppers and the majorettes, to the marching band that is on stage, to the male dancers, and down to the costuming. She also emphasized the importance of being able to see different types of Black bodies on stage. There are small women and there are big women on stage. There are skinny and thick girls. Each performer is unique and celebrated and is easily spotted in the vast formation of the pyramid staging. Beyonce's setlist also reflects the instrumentation. The marching band is present on stage throughout the entire performance except for a couple of small moments. And each song has an extra live layer of horns and drums that delivers them in a way that you've never experienced them before. There are also some popular songs of hers that she doesn't perform, such as End of Time or Halo, or really any of her famous ballads except for I Care. But as one of my favorite YouTube channels, Two Gay Mats, have pointed out, I'll include a link to them in the description as well, Beyonce was careful to choose songs that both encapsulated her entire career and also fit the theme of the show. It would make sense that the album that most closely reflects who Beyonce was as an artist in 2018 would also get the most stage time in the show, and so therefore it's no surprise that so many tracks from Lemonade are included here and done so good. On top of the unapologetic Blackness of the performance itself, Beyonce intersperses her documentary with several quotes from noted Black educators and important figures such as Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, whose voice and speech, "We Should All Be Feminist," appears on the song Flawless, as it does here. These quotes drive home the importance and value that Beyonce places on education in the Black community. And specific quotes from actresses Tessa Thompson and Denai Guerrera emphasize the importance of Black girls being able to look at positive models of Black female excellence to follow. All these together with the HBCU themed performance smash all expectations of what is expected from a performance at this historically predominantly white festival. And it further cements Beyonce's commitment to bringing Black culture to the fore, which she has continued to do through this summer's past release of Black is King on Disney+. It also emphasizes her willingness to use her enormous platform to highlight the voices of other activists and artists. Perhaps the most radical thing about this entire performance is that although hundreds of people worked on it, It is entirely in service of the vision of its Black female director. Since 2010, Beyonce has solidified her control over her own career with every piece of art that she has put out since then. Every album and every performance has her specific vision behind it, and she works with the right collaborators to make sure that that vision is fully realized. It's not dissimilar from the work that any film director does, collaborating with several heads of department to make sure that the vision that they have for a story can come to life. Beyonce never went to film school proper, but it totally makes sense that she would take the initiative to learn the craft of filmmaking in order to further be able to tell the stories that she wants to. And she has been honing her skills for the better part of a decade in order to bring us this masterpiece. She formed her own production company to make this film, and she had final say over everything that we see on screen. In the behind-the-scenes footage, we see Beyonce involved in every step of the process. She is doing not only the normal work of a performer, learning the choreography and the set list and rehearsing nonstop, but she is also looking and critiquing camera angles when she feels that the energy that is happening on stage is not coming across on film. She also made the directorial choice to cut back and forth between HD footage and footage that is viewed through a vintage lens. She is working with her costume designers to make sure that every single piece is precise. She is leading meetings confidently with the other heads of department and the entire cast. As I said before, she rented out 3 sound stages for 8 months to prepare this show. She is also giving notes after each rehearsal, at one point stating, and I'm going to read the direct quote here, "Until I see some of my notes applied, it doesn't make sense for me to give more." She is clearly a woman who knows what she wants and is clearly in charge of this production, but she is also not an aloof leader or an invulnerable one. She encourages the other performers in the show, many of whom are recruited from HBCUs, to bring their own flair and personality to the show, and on a few occasions she actually joins in the dancers and just has fun feeling their energy. And she is doing all of this while balancing new motherhood with baby twins at home, as well as her young daughter Blue Ivy. Beyonce is very candid in this documentary about the difficulties of her pregnancy with her twins and the fact that she needed an emergency C-section to make sure that she and her babies would survive. She struggles to get her energy back afterwards in order to rehearse for this show. And it is a visibly hard process for her, from going on a diet in order to get back into shape to enduring spasms as a result of her still healing muscles from her surgery. Even she admits that she would never put her body through the type of process to put on this entire show again. Her candidness, coupled with that of Serena Williams later that year, highlight just how different the maternity struggles are for Black women compared to their white counterparts. Black women are much more likely to have complications before, during, and after the birth of their children, and the maternal mortality rate is unfortunately much higher than it is for white women. Beyonce here also challenges the expectation of what it means to be a working mother. Among all of the intense preparation for this show, she also makes sure to give proper attention to her family. Blue Ivy is present in many of the clips that we see, even learning a little choreography and some singing. And she also makes sure to bring the twins with her to set whenever she can. One of my favorite clips in the entire film is a moment where Beyonce finishes a rehearsal and she goes off of set and sees Jay-Z and her 2 baby twins, Sir and Rumi, and she is just so elated and excited to see them. And it's just, I love being able to see that pure joy on her face. She draws clear lines between rehearsal time and family time, and she relies on her husband to assist her in that respect. We see Beyonce in this documentary at her most authentic and her most human. And we hear her real thoughts on the entire process, and she just radiates her enthusiasm for the art that she is about to give the world. And it's hard not to get excited along with her as you are watching the performance happen alongside it. It is rare to see a woman's distinct artistic vision reflected on screen, and Beyonce's influence is in every single frame of this film, from the behind the scenes to the concert performance itself. So, what does this mean for concert films going forward? Should anybody be allowed to perform anything after this? I'm kidding. I do want to see a Little Mix in concert still. Just as she set the standard for what a festival performance should be in 2018, I think that she has changed the perception of what a concert film can be with Homecoming. The decision to subtitle it A Film by Beyonce indicates two things for me. First, it indicates that the vision presented in this film is the distinct vision of its female director through and through. Secondly, the word film elevates this genre from a simple way to record one live performance to a new high level of art. This is not simply a marketing puff piece or a straight-to-DVD recording to have on in the background at home. This is a film, a motion picture in the truest sense, and honestly, one of the best films I saw in the year 2019. I do not say this lightly when I think that this absolutely should have been in the conversation for Best Documentary Feature at the Academy Awards that year, and I am baffled that Netflix did not run a for-your consideration campaign for it. Although that could have been a personal decision of Beyonce's not to do so, in which case I respect that. However, I cannot comprehend the fact that this film was nominated for 6 Emmy Awards and won none of them. You really want me to believe that the Trump the Rusical costumes from Drag Race Season 11 were better than the costumes in this film? Or that the Carpool Karaoke with Paul McCartney was a better variety special than this film? Really? As Malcolm X states in one of the quotes that Beyonce included in her performance, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. This film, Homecoming, is one of the most defining pieces of cinema of this past decade, and the fact that it's not considered critically at the level of other prestige films is just, it's mind-boggling to me, and it's just, more than anything, it seems unfair. If the film work of someone as skilled and as internationally famous as Beyonce is getting underappreciated for her work, imagine how hard it must be for unknown Black and Latina and Asian and queer female filmmakers to gain the recognition that they deserve for their work. We have a long way to go in this respect in this industry, unfortunately. And we need to keep pushing for better representation both in front of and behind the camera so that we can tell the diverse stories that need to be told. As white female critics and filmmakers, we cannot just advocate for ourselves. We need to be able to advocate and amplify the voices of Black critics and filmmakers, of Asian critics and filmmakers, and Latina critics and filmmakers, because all of our stories need to be told. Not just yours or mine. In the meantime, while we do that work, we can enjoy and appreciate Homecoming, a film by Beyonce, for the absolute masterpiece that it is. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. Before I sign off, I just want to give you a little insight into my upcoming holiday schedule. After this review, I will be putting out 2 more Women in Film reviews on December 3rd and on December 17th. These will mark the end of Women in Film Reviews Season 2, and I will be taking a holiday hiatus after that until January. I am extremely grateful to be doing what I do, and I appreciate everyone who has checked out my videos and given me feedback, but I do need a break. I will be back after the holidays with Women in Film Season 3, so if you would like to know when that happens, you can subscribe below and click the bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. You can also subscribe to my second channel where I cover mostly non-film related content. Now is a great time to be a patron of mine on Patreon. I have just finished November's patron exclusive movie commentary with myself and my husband Tim. That will be available toward the end of the month. Plus, I will be running polls for you to help me decide which movies I review in December, and you'll get a little bit more insight into my creative process. In addition to my website, I will also be linking several of the resources and reviews that I viewed in preparation for this video in the description down below. I highly recommend you check them all out. They were very informative for me, and I think they will be very informative for you as well. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on my Facebook page, which will all be linked in the description as well. Thank you guys so much again for watching. This video meant a lot to put together for me. I've been wanting to talk about homecoming for a while, and I figured now was a really good time to talk about it because I am truly thankful for Beyonce and everything that she's done. So anyways, I hope you remember to keep living awesome lives. Have a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate it, and I will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.